Pain does not have to be a life sentence. The experiences of the past, no matter how dark or damaging, do not own the future. It is possible to rise above them, to break free from the chains of trauma, and to reclaim the narrative of life. That transformation begins with one powerful realization. The past is not your fault, but the future is your responsibility. Yes, trauma can feel like an anchor, pulling everything down. It can distort the view of the world, twist the sense of self-worth, and cloud the ability to dream of something better. It can feel all-consuming, like a never-ending cycle of pain that's impossible to escape. But the truth is, as difficult as those experiences were, they do not define who you are at your core. They shape parts of your story, but they do not dictate how the rest of your life will unfold. The power to change the narrative is within. It doesn't matter how overwhelming the past has been, how deep the wounds go, or how long you've carried the weight. There is always the possibility to choose healing, to choose empowerment, and to choose freedom. One of the hardest things about overcoming childhood trauma is acknowledging the pain. For so long, it may have felt easier to bury it, to push it aside, to pretend that everything is fine. But that pain doesn't go away just because it's ignored. In fact, it often grows, manifesting in ways that are subtle yet destructive, affecting relationships, careers, self-esteem, and even physical health. But acknowledging the pain is not the same as being defined by it. Acknowledgement is the first step toward healing. It's about saying, yes, this happened. Yes, it hurt. Yes, it has affected me, but it does not have to control me anymore. Too often, people hold on to trauma because it feels familiar. It becomes a part of their identity, a lens through which they view the world. But trauma is not an identity. It is an experience, one that can be learned from, but not one that should dictate the future. When you acknowledge the pain, when you bring it to the surface instead of burying it deep within, you begin to take back control. It no longer has the power to silently dictate your actions, your thoughts, or your feelings. You become the one in charge of your own story. It's easy to fall into a victim mentality, especially when the trauma was something that happened during childhood, when you were powerless, when you couldn't control the situation. In those moments, you were a victim. That's the reality of childhood trauma. But here's the critical point. You don't have to remain a victim. There's a massive difference between being a victim of circumstance and living with a victim mentality. The victim mentality is the mindset that says, this is just the way things are. I can't change anything. I'm stuck like this forever. It's a belief that because trauma happened, you're somehow broken or incapable of leading a fulfilling, joyful life. But nothing could be further from the truth. You are not broken. The trauma doesn't have to define your entire existence. You have the power to reshape your mindset, to shift from seeing yourself as a victim of life's circumstances to seeing yourself as the hero of your own story. Think about it. Every day, every moment, you have a choice. Will you let the trauma of the past continue to control your present, or will you take the steps necessary to move forward? No one can make that choice for you, but the moment you decide to break free from the victim mentality, everything changes. This isn't about pretending the trauma didn't happen. It's not about ignoring the pain or pretending to be strong when inside you feel weak. It's about recognizing that, despite the trauma, you have power. Despite the pain, you have strength. Despite the darkness, you can find light. The victim mentality is a lie. It whispers that you'll never escape the trauma, that it will always define you, that you'll never be normal or whole. But those are just lies born out of pain. The truth is, you are more powerful than you realize. Here's where the transformation begins. The past cannot be changed, but the future is unwritten. It is within your control to rewrite the narrative of your life, to take back the pen and become the author of your own story. Think of your life as a book. Yes, there are chapters that were written in pain, chapters that are difficult to read, let alone relive. But those chapters do not have to be the whole story. They are part of the story, but they do not define it. What if, instead of seeing the trauma as something that broke you, It became the very thing that fueled your strength. What if the pain was not a weight that held you down, but the fire that pushed you to rise higher? This is the power of shifting your narrative. When the narrative changes from, I'm broken to I'm healing, from I'll never overcome this to this is making me stronger, everything shifts. The trauma doesn't disappear, but it no longer controls you. You are the one in control. The mind is a battlefield. The greatest victories are won when you conquer the thoughts that tell you you're not enough, you'll never heal, or you're forever defined by your past. These are lies, and it's time to silence them. It starts with a decision to take control of your mindset. Every day, there will be moments where the old narrative tries to creep back in, where the memories of trauma try to pull you down. But with every moment, you have the opportunity to choose a different path. You are not a prisoner to your past. You are the architect of your future. Every scar tells a story, but it's a story of survival. The fact that you're here today, listening to this message, is proof of your strength. You've already overcome so much more than you realize. The experiences that were meant to break you didn't. You're still standing. And that's not a small thing. It's everything. Trauma has a way of distorting the view of self-worth. It makes you believe that you're damaged, that you're somehow less than others who didn't experience the same pain. But here's the truth. Your trauma does not make you less. It makes you more. Think about it. Those who've been to the darkest times often have the brightest lights within them. The strength that comes from enduring and surviving trauma is immense. It's a strength that not everyone understands, but it's a strength that can be harnessed, not just to survive, but to thrive. What if the very thing that tried to destroy you became the thing that set you free? What if your greatest source of pain became your greatest source of power? This isn't just about overcoming trauma. It's about transforming it. It's about turning the pain into purpose, the wounds into wisdom, and the struggle into strength. It's about recognizing that the trauma is part of your story, but it's not the whole story. It's not the final chapter. You are stronger than the trauma. You are stronger than the pain. You are stronger than the fear. Healing is not a destination. It's a journey. And like any journey, it's filled with ups and downs, moments of progress and moments of setback. But the setbacks do not erase the progress. They are part of the journey. It's important to understand that healing doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending the trauma never happened. It means facing the trauma, acknowledging it, and choosing to move forward anyway. There will be days when it feels like no progress is being made. There will be days when the weight of the trauma feels overwhelming. But those days are not the end. They are just part of the process. Healing is not linear. It doesn't happen all at once. But every small step forward is a victory. Every time you choose healing over staying stuck, you're winning. Every time you take control of your narrative, you're moving closer to freedom. The future is yours to create. The past has shaped you, but it does not define you. The future is wide open, waiting to be written. You hold the pen. You get to decide what happens next. Yes, the trauma is part of your story, but it is not the whole story. There is so much more waiting for you, so much more joy, love, success, and fulfillment. But it starts with a choice to stop letting the trauma control the future, a choice to reclaim your power, a choice to rise.